Hello there! Time again for another short video, and today I'm very happy that Atlassian has finally announced that Jira Projects will be renamed to Jira Spaces. This is a change that I have been looking forward to for almost a decade now. I've always disliked the term Jira Projects because projects have absolutely nothing to do with what most people are using the Jira for. But before we dig into this one a little bit deeper, let's jump over to the Atlassian community and I will show you the announcement and I will talk a little bit about the announcement. So let's jump over to the Atlassian community. So here we are now in Atlassian community, and as you can see, evolving Jira terminology, projects will soon be spaces. So they are referring now then to the journey that they say that they began last year. I would say that they actually began even sooner before that, but this is when they actually started to rename things. So their strategy to rename things started there. And what they are now announcing is that they will take the next step in this one and that they will remove the term projects and replace them then with spaces. And this one will then build on the other thing that they have, like when they rename things to work items, for example, instead of issues. And also different changes that they had now to different namings that they have rolled out. So what they are saying now is that they are trying now then to commit to having Jira becomes more of a generic tool, more accessible for all teams, not just for project teams or not just for development teams, but for everyone. So they will now not just change the name here. I don't know if you can see that one here, but projects here, they had this little spaceship here before. And what they will do now in the change, it will now become spaces, and you will have the little planet there with the ring around it, which will be the new symbolize and the new symbol for spaces. And then they describe it, why did we change it now then to project? And it has been a core part of Jira since the beginning, and that is because back in the days, everything was project-based because you had that model, and this is what some people refer to as the waterfall area, where everything had a predefined start and end date, and you finance things using project models. So you would always do CapEx, like investment projects. And today we don't do that as much. We have continuous delivery instead with operational expenses. And so the term projects is no longer really useful because you don't actually create a Jira space for the purpose of running a project, but you're creating it for having an area where you can actually have the content of the work that you do. So it's kind of a container more than actually having a scope based on a project. And they say for many team projects are typically understood to have a defined start and end date. Yes, that is the actual definition of a project. And if you don't know the difference between a project and initiative, for example, I actually have a video for it, and I will post that up here above. So you'll see it up there. And because it has not been very clear then what projects actually refer to, and I've had more than one customer that is asking why should we create a project? We don't work with projects, we have continuous deliveries. So this is one reason why they need to change this one. So they are saying that they are trying now to clarity and alignment on the terms, and that space better represent than how the Jira container are used today. And that is absolutely true, and we have suggested space many times, and this one, I believe the term will not be space eventually. It will probably be a workspace, which makes sense for work that we're doing with work items. You have a workspace where you actually place your work items. So I think that will be the way we will refer to it further on. And they're also saying that the consistency across all tools. So every tool will actually have the same terminology. And we're standardizing the container terminology, which is a good term that they're using now, and that they are saying that what we call projects that will now soon become spaces are actually containers, because that's exactly what they are. And it's the same if you go to Confluence, it will be a Confluence space because it's a container of documentation or collaboration items. So it will be more clear what are we actually talking about, and it will be more consistent across the tool. And what is it that is actually changing then? Well, it's the term project that will be replaced with space across all Jira Cloud products. So it's Jira Service Management and Jira Product Discovery also. And the project's icon will be updated to reflect this terminology. And then it said what's not changing. Everything else about how you use these containers remains the same. So they are now talking about how Jira projects are configured. They will not change. Nothing about the configuration themselves in Confluence for Confluence Spaces or for Jira for Workspaces will actually not change. It will only be the name that changes. And then they say projects have a new name, everything else is the same. This is not actually true, I believe. I think they have actually forgotten a part here. Because today we are referring in JQL, in API calls and other things, we actually use the term project in those calls. And those, I would assume, would have the same setup like they have for the other name changes. And that means that the current setup using projects will remain for a fairly long time. And the new terms of space will be added for going forward. So I think that one, but they don't add it here, which is a little bit weird. And then you say Atlassian projects, updates with context all in one place. And that is the second problem that we have had now for a while, even since Atlas was introduced. And that is that we have Jira Projects and then we have Atlassian Projects. So they are two completely different things. You might remember in Atlas we had goals and we had projects. And when they were added, we'd actually have duplication. Two things were named projects, but they were not the same thing. So it was really kind of different to know what they're actually referring to. So now that they are removing that term from Jira Projects, that will now become Jira Spaces, that frees up now that when we are referring to projects, it will now just be one thing that we are referring to, at least for now. So they say that we are making it easier to distinguish between these two features and their unique purpose, which is correct. And when is this happening then? Well, they will actually start rolling out the new space terminology on October 2025. So we have quite a long time before that one actually happens, and it will also be handled in stages. So it won't roll out all at once. So you could probably expect to have this one at least probably around the end of the year, I would say. So I really like this one. You can see my comment here, finally. I've been waiting for this change. And it seems like overall, most people are fairly pleased with this update. There are a few people that are asking here now, what about APIs? What about the JQL and stuff like that? So I'm assuming that Atlassian will answer this one shortly and clarify that one, because obviously that will affect that as well, since we're using that terminology. But for me, this was an excellent way to start the new week. And I hope that you enjoy this one or really like this one as much as I do. But if you don't, please leave a comment so I know what it is that you don't like. And maybe we can discuss it and see if we can come to common terms on this one. Because I've been waiting for this one for a decade to actually have a proper name for this one. But that was all I wanted to say about this topic. I'm, as you can probably tell, super excited about this one. I wish it was October already and we can push this one out. But I'll patiently wait a couple of months longer, and I guess until that time, the only thing that remains for me to say then is that I hope that you will have a great day and also a week.